So if you want to know what actually happens if you do the Russian sleep experiment, it's not you tear everyone's eyes out and say that, what did he say again? Say that we are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free every night, your deepest animal mind. That's not what happens. Instead, this is what happens.
Ignore the haters. You're so close. You got this. Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro.
The fact he's even still talking, I almost think it's fake. I'm not trying to falsely accuse him of faking it here, but I almost feel like he's faking it. You see the guy who's attempting to break the world record for longest time without sleep? I don't know if it's real. Apparently, he's been awake for 218 hours. His name is Norm. What? Has this guy actually been awake for 12 days? You can't actually do that without drugs. Like, that is impossible. You can't actually stay awake for 12 days.
I think you're really crashing so hard because of all that energy we spent today.
Like, you would just fall asleep. I feel like you would just fall asleep regardless, right? You can't just stay awake. Like, if you're awake for days on end, even if you're on live stream, you're trying to stay awake, eventually you're just going to pass out.
Try and keep things mellow, I think.
You think I should keep things mellow?
Is he on, like, meth? This is him, right? Is this the guy? Norm. I'm actually surprised YouTube is allowing this. So, wait, he's actually streaming every day for 12 days? Wow. This guy's going to do permanent psychological damage to himself. Do the times line up for... Because, okay, this one's 11 hours. This one is 2 hours. This was 4 hours. So it'll put us to 14 hours ago. Okay, there's this one. It seems like he is actually doing it. That's crazy.
40. Huh?
I like this guy in chat. He says, wait, Norm, can I go to my iPad? Just like a 5-year-old. Asking a streamer if you're allowed to go to your iPad.
This version of my face, and it just...
It says pre-recorded. It doesn't look pre-recorded because the chat lines up with what's on screen. Like here we have, now that's motivational from Blaze Plays, and then Blaze Plays in chat says that's motivational. It's the same exact messages, right? Guys, he's okay. He's just doing a Mr. Beast challenge video like Jake Weddle. This is f***ed up, man. Just like destroying your sanity for views. Psychological effects of not sleeping. 5 sleep deprivation, and it's 5 sleep deprivation? What does that mean, 5 sleep deprivation? What the f does that mean? What is this title, Psych to Go? What happens to your body and brain if you don't sleep? By Insider Tech.
My name is Matthew Walker. I am a professor of neuroscience and psychology at the University of California, Berkeley.
Hello.
And I am the author of the book, Why We Sleep. We certainly know that a lack of sleep will actually prevent your brain from being able to initially make new memories. So it's almost as though without sleep, the memory of the brain shuts down and you can't commit new experiences to memory. So those new incoming informational emails are just bounced and you end up feeling as though you're amnesic. You can't essentially make and create those new memories.
Okay, interesting. Really interesting. What are the physical effects of not sleeping, like physically on the body? Because obviously there's like general tiredness, but I imagine there could be like serious effects for like your digestive system or stuff like that if you're not sleeping properly.
We also know that a lack of sleep will lead to an increased development of a toxic protein in the brain that is called beta amyloid, and that is associated with Alzheimer's disease because it is during deep sleep at night when a sewage system within the brain actually kicks into high gear and it starts to wash away this toxic protein.
Poop maxing in the brain? Based. Clean Box or Critter Clash 5? Of course, Cam. Any day I got you, bro.
Beta amyloid. So if you're not getting enough sleep each and every night, more of that Alzheimer's related protein will build up. The more protein that builds up, the greater your risk of going on to develop dementia in later life.
I'm like super paranoid about dementia or Alzheimer's. It seems like such a horrifying thing to have. Because with other diseases you can get when you're older, right? With other things you can get, like physical ailments, it's like it really sucks. Obviously, you're in extreme pain, but at least you're still like able to talk to your loved ones. You know your loved ones. You can, communicate properly, remember the past, reflect in your life. But if you have Alzheimer's when you're at the end, like you don't even know your name eventually. Once it progresses far enough, you don't even know who you are. You don't know who your family is. You're like in a constant state of confusion. It's like complete cancer. Napa in chat says, I went 7 days on meth at 19, ended up thinking a reality TV show was following me, mad a scene, went to jail. I mean, made a scene. 7 days on meth. It's always crazy to me to hear about people who do stuff like meth or heroin. Because when I was growing up, that was just not even a thing in my mind that people were doing. Like obviously in high school, I knew that people were smoking weed or whatever. I think I heard one or two kids doing like coke or something. Coke is pretty intense, but like Meth? On the bright side, you forget about the fear. Well, you forget about it and then you just get it again and then you forget why you're fearful. Like you don't even know you have the disease. That's the most horrifying thing. That's not a real bright side, to be honest with you. Well, at least you don't know.
What are the effects of sleep deprivation on the body? Well, there are many different effects. Firstly, we know that sleep deprivation affects the reproductive system. We know that men who are sleeping just 5 to 6 hours a night have a level of testosterone which is that of someone 10 years their senior.
Oh, shit.
So a lack of sleep will age you by almost a decade in terms of that aspect of virility. And
all right, guys. So if you want to be reproducing, cooming, gooning, coming, shooting white ropes, you got to be getting your sleep. Let it be known is very important.
Wellness. We also know that a lack of sleep impacts your immune system. So after just one night of 4 to 5 hours of sleep, there is a 70% reduction in critical anti-cancer fighting immune cells.
70%?
Called natural killer cells. And that's the reason that we know that short sleep duration predicts your risk for developing numerous forms of cancer. And that list currently includes cancer of the bowel, cancer of the prostate, as well as cancer of the breast. In fact,
why does he say it that way? I know it's probably like the proper terminology for when you're British, but cancer of the breast. Cancer of the breast. You know, the biggest problem with this whole breast cancer thing is, you know, girls will complain, oh, I have breast cancer, it's so horrifying. But the problem is that you have a tumor that's making your boobs bigger. And, you know, it's kind of a hard thing to wrestle with. It's like, well, on one hand, like, you know, she has cancer, it's life-threatening, she could die, she could need to get them cut off. But in the meantime, her tits just got so much bigger. It's kind of like a very hard sell for me, you know, like this whole breast cancer being a problem thing. It's like, maybe it's cool, actually. Maybe it's awesome. It's rotting off. Hey, stop hating, dude. It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. What else do I need to be worried about? It's like, oh, I'm in pain. Oh, the doctor says it's bad. Okay, look how big your tits just got. It's lumps. Who doesn't love a good lumpy breasts now and then? Deformed, bulbous, got like a strange like shape coming out the side, got like a little zigzag, like got a little like coming off it, you know what I mean? Just kind of like stacked ice cream scoops. Kind of cool.
In fact, the link between a lack of sleep and cancer is now so strong that recently the World Health Organization decided to classify any form of nighttime shift work as a probable carcinogen.
Whoa.
So in other words, jobs that may induce cancer because of a disruption of your sleep-wake rhythms. We also know that a lack of sleep impacts...
I'm actually like scared now. I want to get better sleep. I haven't been sleeping that well lately, chat. Today I did. Today I got like a good 8-9 hours, or last night rather, but I've been on that like 4 or 5 hours of sleep thing where I just can't seem to get any more than that. You know, hard time getting to bed once I wake up. Feel tired, but I just get out of bed anyway because like I got shit to do. I'm getting paranoid now. I want to get better sleep, dude. I want to get better sleep. Damn, I'm scared.
Impacts your cardiovascular system, because it is during deep sleep at night that you receive this most wonderful form of effectively blood pressure medication. Your heart rate drops, your blood pressure goes down. If you're not getting sufficient sleep, you're not getting that reboot of the cardiovascular system. So your blood pressure rises. You have, if you're getting 6 hours of sleep or less, a 200% increased risk of
200%?
having a fatal heart attack or
I'm gonna die.
Stroke in your
I'm gonna die.
lifetime. There is a global experiment that is performed on 1.6 billion people twice a year, and it's called daylight savings time. And we know that in the spring, when we lose 1 hour of sleep, we see a subsequent 24% increase in heart attacks the following day. Another question perhaps is, what is the recycle rate of a human being? How long can we actually last without sleep before we start to see declines?
That's great for keeping your blood pressure down, I'm sure.
In your brain function or even impairments within your body? And the answer seems to be about 16 hours of wakefulness. Once you get past 16 hours of being awake, that's when we start to see mental deterioration and physiological deterioration in the body. We know that after you've been awake for 19 or 20 hours, your mental capacity is so impaired that you would be as deficient as someone who is legally drunk behind the wheel of a car. So if you were to ask me what is the recycle rate of a human being, it does seem to be about 16 hours, and we need about 8 hours of sleep to repair the damage of wake.
There's also a phenomenon called sleep debt, where if you haven't been getting proper sleep, like if like, okay, let's say for 3 days in a row, you get like 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours, 6 hours, and then the next night you get 9 hours. It's not like when you wake up that day, you're going to be as rested as you would be if you had been getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep every single night in previous nights. You're still going to be tired. You're still going to be f***ed up. You still need to let your body catch up on the rest that it needs. It's not just like, oh, you get 8 hours once and then your entire situation's fixed, right?
Wakefulness essentially is low-level brain damage.
God damn. Well, it looks like that guy is probably doing potentially irreversible psychological and physical harm to himself. God damn, I feel bad for that guy. Take magnesium, it'll change your life for sleep. Maybe it will. I used to take melatonin when I was in college. I was taking melatonin. Definitely helped a little bit. I feel like I do have like high blood pressure or something though, just because of all the nicotine, all the caffeine. During my army training, we had to stay awake for 72 hours. Someone thought the trees turned into people. Jesus. Don't worry, Gooning reverses everything this guy is saying. Yeah, true, based. I have been thinking about this recently, though. I think I need to slow down on the caffeine and nicotine because I don't know, or actually, I stopped taking pre-workout. That was my solution for this. I don't know if this is enough because like a month ago, I had a buddy, my one buddy from college came here, and I got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, maybe, that night. So I was pretty tired, but I just woke up because he was there. I don't want to keep sleeping in. I want to hang out with him. So, I woke up, pushed on, drove with him to the diner. We're eating, everything's going fine. We order whatever I'm eating. And I definitely felt a little tired, a little out of it, but I didn't feel like horrible, right? So I'm just eating like normal. This story almost sounds fake because it's so, I almost can't even believe it happened. But we're sitting there, we're eating, and my vision started shrinking like that. Like I felt like tired all of a sudden. My vision started shrinking. And I was sitting in like a stool. So like this chair has a backing, right? I was sitting in a stool with no backing. My vision started shrinking like that, right? And then I just woke up on the floor with everyone looking at me. It was kind of up. There was like this woman there who was like, he had a seizure, and I did not have a seizure at all. But I passed out. I don't remember it, but apparently I just passed out and I hit the deck. And there was they were all looking at me like I felt like I was in like a movie where like Spider-Man like gets hurt by Doc Ock and he wakes up and they're all looking down at him. That one scene when he's like on the train and like Joey Diaz is there. So I just fainted. I've never fainted before. That was a seizure. It was not a seizure. A seizure is a different thing than what happened. I fainted. And they like, dude, they were so gay about it. They like called the ambulance. I was like, do you have to? They were like, yes. So they called the ambulance. And they came and they checked me out and they said all my shit was normal. They said my blood pressure was normal. My heart rate was normal. But yeah, it was just like, it was up. But yeah, they said it was fine. But I did stop taking pre-workout as a result. So I talked to my dad about it. He said one time he just passed out and he thought it was probably pre-workout related. So yeah. Have you driven while having no sleep? I definitely have before, but generally I try not to. I've driven while having no sleep if I'm like kind of tired, but not if I've like been awake for like 20 hours. If I like have like an early flight or whatever, sometimes I'll drive to the airport and then I'll just get on the plane to sleep. Basically, that's what I'll do. So yeah. All right. With that in mind, hope that Grom guy, hope he's all right. He seems like he's kind of mentally. Seems like he's a little. I think we should probably start reporting this guy so we can actually go to bed. After watching that, I'm worried. I'm not encouraging any reporting. If you feel like it breaks YouTube TOS, it's up to you. But the thing is, even if you report him, he's already been awake for 12 days. He's just going to stream somewhere else, right? He's not going to stop. Read the Russian sleep experiment creepypasta now. Does Mr. Beast really have downs? Yes, I had a dream about it. It was real. The Russian sleep experiment creepypasta wiki. It's shorter than I remember. Alzheimer's bulking based. I got to get some creepy music for this one, chat. Music copyright free. What's that guy creepypasta music? Here we go. Are you grunting and snorting? I think I have Tourette's. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and 5-inch thick glass, porthole-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books and cots to sleep on, but no bedding, as well as running water, a toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days, the subjects hardly complained, having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and didn't sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past. The general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering into the microphones in one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades to other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber repeatedly, yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight, at which point he continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior was how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering into the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The 2 non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering into the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it impossible that no sound could be occurring with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. We need a new scary song. All right, chat, here we go. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they would not get. The researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the people they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We're opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you'll be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they heard a calm voice respond in a single phrase: "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The researchers made them watch Coco Melon Based. That's so cool. ChrisTyson.exe, dude, a Chris Tyson Sonic EXE edit would be amazing. That'd be a great thumbnail. Whatever you do, guys, do not call Chris Tyson at 3 a.m., okay? I promise you it will not end well. The chamber was flush with the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air. Immediately, voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was open and soldiers were sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state that any of them in. Food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chests stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking it and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. All right, music change. And you guys play Plague Inc? The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects have been removed. Oh, I read this one. Yeah, I read that one. Oh, wait. No, I didn't. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects have been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of their muscles attached to the ribs have been ripped off, exposing the lungs to the ribcage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact, but have been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. This is a lot cornier than I remember. I remember when I was 11, this was the most horrifying thing in the world to me, but I think part of that was the image that accompanies it. Yeah, this picture scared the out of me. I did not like this very much. As a young child, this very much disturbed me, to be honest with you. Thank you, Sonic Olu, for becoming a member. Sorry, but you wouldn't survive that. We got a hater in chat. We got a doubter in chat. You. You're cringe. This is real. This happened, okay? Don't deny it. You gotta be a truther. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still, many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. The subjects themselves continued to scream to be left in the chamber and begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out, and another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives, if you count the ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured and bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one doctor. His heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out, to the point there was more air in his vascular system than his blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for more than 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the word "more" over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. You guys feeling spooked out? Don't laugh, this is real. Yeah, my bad. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility. The 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of his way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even through the weight of a 200-pound soldier holding that wrist. It only took a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. They would have died from blood loss, and by some miracle they didn't bleed out sepsis with the artery. They could not have survived. Hey, you're a hater. This is a true story. This is a very true story. I just got my wisdom teeth removed. Please give me a forehead kiss. Get over it. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had tripled the normal level of oxygen. The muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in a struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to the surgery, and he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested, reluctantly, that they should try the surgery without anesthetic, and did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should not be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. We need creepier music, I think. We need to go back to the Mew. Creepypasta music, I think. Hold on. Here we go. We're getting real spooky here. Okay. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write his message. It was simple. Keep cutting. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. You just went over some condoms and Gatorade? We're a horror channel now? Yeah, we are a horror channel now. The second half is literally just there was piss, gore, blood, and spleens, bones, gonorrhea, and they were crazy. Ooh. Hey, it scared the shit out of me when I was 11, I think is when I read this. When did this actually come out originally? When was the Russian sleep experiment written? Early 2010. The oldest known version was August 10th, 2010. Okay. So yeah, when it came out, I would have been almost 8. I think I was 11 when I read it. That's my impression here, chat. It's the impression that I get. Wait, this is actually longer than I remember. Oh, most of it's comments. Okay, we're getting there. I thought this whole page was just the story. We got to get through it though. Where was I? Here? Okay, here we go. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. Thank you, River, for becoming a member. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. Only one response was given: I must remain awake. All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back in the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, an ex-KGB, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the gas chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all 3 stopped struggling the moment it was let slip they were going to be back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point, all 3 were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might. First left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired to the EEG machine, most of the researchers were monitoring his brain waves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw the man's eyes slip shut at the same time that his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the ones who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to the bed, as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. "I won't be locked in here with these things! Not with you!" he screamed as the man strapped at the table. "What are you?" he demanded. "I must know!" The subject smiled. "Have you so easily forgotten?" the subject asked. "We are you. We are the madness that lurks... We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread." The researcher paused, then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out, "So nearly free." I'm gonna be honest, this cool concept started off pretty well. By the end of it, it was just like trash, bro. It's just like peak edginess. I liked it to scare me when I was a child, though. Top comment calls him out. "Sorry, but the KGB was formed in 1954. It was probably the NKVD." Right. Well, I'm glad we're concerned with consistency here, okay? On the Russian sleep experiment horror story, which is very real. I'm glad we're concerned. I mean, the consistency is important, undoubtedly, you know? Orange.soda is the first person to post this pasta to the wiki. He should technically count as the author. Orange.soda is not the author. He just reposted it from X. Okay. Do not give Orange.soda credit for this writing, okay? Do not give him credit. So if you want to know what actually happens if you do the Russian sleep experiment, it's not you tear everyone's eyes out and say that, what did he say again? Say that we are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free every night in your deepest animal mind. That's not what happens. Instead, this is what happens.
Ignore the haters. You're so close. You got this. Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. We were supposed to go out this morning.
The fact he's even still talking, I almost think it's fake. I'm not trying to falsely accuse him of faking it here, but I almost feel like he's faking it.